Today, we are diving into one of the most powerful sentences in the entire Indian Constitution, Article 21. Now, you might think of a law as something fixed, written in stone. But this one's different. It's more like a living thing. It started out as this tiny little seed, and over the years, it has grown into a massive tree of rights. So let's get into how this incredible transformation happened, starting with the words themselves.
And there it is, the whole thing, just 21 words. It seems so simple, doesn't it? Procedure established by law. It sounds pretty straightforward, like a basic rulebook for the government. But the real story here is how the meaning of these few words got completely turned on its head. Because, believe it or not, that is exactly what happened. This one sentence has been stretched and shaped by the courts to protect all of those things and a whole lot more. It went from being a simple checkbox to this powerful promise of human dignity. So, how on earth did that happen? Why did the courts make such a huge shift?
Well, it all comes down to a radical change in how we understood that one key phrase, procedure established by law. It's like the courts read this sentence in two completely different ways at two different points in time.
At first, everyone took it super literally and very restrictively. It basically meant that as long as the government dotted its I's and crossed its T's to pass a law, any law, it could limit your liberty. The law itself didn't have to be fair or just. It just had to be, well, a law. It was basically a box-ticking exercise, nothing more.
And this is where you can see the revolution in thinking, right here, side by side. Before 1978, any law was good enough. But after 1978, the Supreme Court came in and said, hold on a second. The procedure can't just exist on paper. It has to be fair, just, and reasonable. This changed everything. It meant the court could now look at the actual substance of a law, not just whether it was passed correctly.
So what caused this huge shift? It wasn't some big new amendment passed by Parliament. Nope. It all came down to one single pivotal court case. And it all got started over a fight about a passport, right in the messy aftermath of India's state of emergency.
So the case was all about a journalist, Maneka Gandhi. The government used its powers under the Passport Act to take her passport away, saying it was in the public interest. But here's the kicker. They refused to tell her why. So she argued, hey, this is completely arbitrary and it violates my personal liberty.
Let's just walk through the logic here. Step 1. The government acts, and technically, they're following the letter of the law. Step 2. This raises the huge question. Is just having a law on the books good enough, even if that law lets the government act however it wants? And then Step 3, the court's answer, a massive, resounding no. The court basically said an unfair or arbitrary procedure isn't really a procedure at all.
And this quote from Justice Bhagwati, man, it just nails it. It's really the heart of the whole decision. It establishes that fairness isn't just some nice-to-have idea. It's a fundamental, non-negotiable part of Article 21. Arbitrary power is the enemy of freedom.
Okay, so the Maneka Gandhi case set the new rule. Procedure has to be fair. But what does fair actually mean in the real world? What does it look like? Well, the court got a chance to build on this new foundation almost immediately.
The next big test came from a proposed law to create special courts. These courts were meant to try offenses that happened during the really controversial state of emergency that had just ended. So you can imagine, the political stakes here were incredibly high.
And the whole thing really boiled down to this one fundamental question. Can you really get a fair trial if the person judging you, the judge, isn't totally independent from the same government that's accusing you of a crime?
So the court started digging into the details of this bill, and they found some huge red flags. For one, if you got a judge who was clearly biased, there was no way to move your case. Tough luck. Even worse, judges served during the pleasure of the government, which is a huge threat to their independence. And on top of that, the government had way too much say in picking the judges. Put it all together, and the court saw the risk of a show trial, not a fair one.
And just like that, another really important piece gets added to what Article 21 means. A fair procedure absolutely requires an independent judiciary. Think about it. The referee in a legal fight has to be free from pressure, especially from the government. So making sure judges have job security became a key part of the right to liberty.
All right, so the right is getting broader. It requires fairness, but who exactly does it cover? Does this powerful, expanded right have its limits? The next evolution came from a case that tested whether Article 21's protections just stop at the prison gates. This was the core question in the ABM Petnaik case. You had prisoners arguing that the security at their jail, we're talking armed guards, live wires, was a violation of their right to life under Article 21.
This really forced the court to decide, is a convicted criminal still a person who has fundamental rights?
And the court's answer was crystal clear and incredibly powerful. Yes, absolutely. A conviction might take away your freedom to, walk around freely, but it doesn't strip you of your basic human dignity or your other fundamental rights.
But the court also did this really important balancing act. It said, look, of course the state has a duty to maintain security and stop people from escaping, but, and this is a huge but, the way they do it has to be reasonable. It can't be cruel or totally over the top. Article 21 demands that we treat people humanely, even behind prison walls.
So you can see the whole progression, right? It started as this simple sentence. Then it became a requirement for fairness. Then it became a guarantee of an independent justice system. And then a right that protects every single person no matter what. That little seed planted in the Constitution had truly grown into a mighty tree.
And today, the branches of that tree stretch into pretty much every part of modern life. The right to live with dignity, the right to privacy, the right to a clean environment, the right to health. All of these and so many more have been recognized by the courts as flowing directly from that one little sentence. It's become the foundation for so much of what we think of as essential for a good life.
So, let's just quickly nail down the key takeaways from all this. First, Article 21 is about life with dignity, not just breathing. Second, any government action that limits that life has to be fair, just, and reasonable. Third, the Maneka Gandhi case was the absolute game changer. Fourth, a huge part of fairness is having independent judges. And finally, this right belongs to everyone, no exceptions.
The story of Article 21 is this powerful reminder that a constitution isn't just a dusty old document. It's alive, and it can adapt to new challenges. So the question for all of us looking forward is this. As our world keeps changing, what new protections will we need to find inside those same 21 words? It's a pretty powerful thought to leave you with. Thanks for joining this explainer.